Decree of the Deeps, boosted drop rate for Ordainer of Inexorable Judgment, Nuevilette. Very nice. Okay, so looks like the banner rumors were true, and since Nuevilette and Hu Tao are going to be the featured 4-star or 5 stars in the first half, the 4 stars are Xingqiu, Fischl, and Diona. This is a very nice banner. Both these 5 stars will be pretty good on-field damage dealers, but these 4 stars are really nice, so if you want to go for these 5 stars, you're at least getting good 4 stars along the way. And even if you don't necessarily want to go for them and you're kind of on the fence, you're like, well, maybe, at least if you decide to wish, you'll be getting really, really good 4 stars. I know a lot of people will probably want to wish on this banner, even if they don't want to go all the way to pity, just to get some of these 4-star characters, because Xingqiu and Fischl are some of the best in the entire game, 5 stars included. Xingqiu is one of the best Hydro characters in the game, off-field Hydro, damage reduction, a little bit of passive healing, really good Hydro application, extremely useful for a whole bunch of teams and really unlocks so many different types of teams, so he's really, really good. Every single one of his constellations is also good. His C1's probably like the quote-unquote worst one, but his C2 is really strong, and his C6 is also a very big power spike. Fischl is a really, really good off-field electro damage character, and like, it's not really about her, it's about Oz, her little bird that shoots his little bird bullets of electro at enemies. Extremely good at C0. C6 is also not bad, but not because of the extra attacks that Oz does when you attack, it's because you get the extra time. So essentially you go from using Oz from the skill and the burst, and going from about 20 seconds of on-field bird time to 24 seconds, which is pretty big. So Fischl is also extremely good. Both of these 4 stars are really good for free-to-play players because they offer off-field damage, which is usually at a premium, and they're both very good at C0. So they're really, really nice, and they work in so many different teams, particularly with like Dendro characters, which is really nice. So things like Aggravate or any sort of Bloom, or Xingqiu for like Hyper Bloom. Often you need some sort of Hydro, and when you're starting out, you don't have very good Hydro options. You've got Barbara, you've got Hydro Traveler, and both those characters are pretty terrible for like a Hyper Bloom team, which ends up being extremely strong. But if you get someone like Xingqiu, then you can run Xingqiu with like Lisa and Dendro Traveler, and suddenly you have like a decent Hyper Bloom team. But yeah, these two are great. Diona is also not a bad 4-star to get. She's definitely not like the best, but she does provide shielding, healing, and while she's not the greatest at any of those, it is kind of nice to just have someone who is a shielder and a healer in one as a 4-star, who can also hold something like the Noblesse set to give your team an attack buff when she does use her burst. She's also great as a cryo battery in freeze teams with the Sacrificial Bow or the Favonius Warbow. So she's a pretty decent utility character. While you wouldn't really have a lot of damage built around Diona, the fact that she could be a really nice utility character for a lot of freeze teams is pretty nice. And it does make a lot of sense that Xingqiu would be on Hu Tao's banner, because Hu Tao without Xingqiu just feels terrible to play. So overall, these banners are really nice. If you were thinking about going for Hu Tao or for Nuevilette, then at least you get really good 4 stars on these banners, unlike the Tartaglia and Zhongli banners that are currently out right now, because those 4 stars are not great. Now what I'm curious about too is the weapon invocation. Now this is a very interesting weapon banner, and even though the weapon banner is a giant trap, I have a lot of primos, and I am considering going for this. The 4 stars on here are kind of to be honest, but it has the Tome of Eternal Flow, which is a decent catalyst, and Nuevilette's signature weapon, so obviously very good for him. And then it also has Staff of Homa, and Staff of Homa is really nice too. So the 5 stars on here are both pretty good. The worst weapon on the 4 stars is probably the bow, the whatever knocked Fischl's signature quote-unquote 4-star bow. It's a physical on-field damage dealing Fischl bow. I have no desire to play Fischl as an on-field physical carry. You can do that, but and then we've got the ODM gear attack on Titan Sword, the Dockhand's Assistant, and then the portable power saw, both of which are HP percent substat 4 stars that have the same passive that increase your EM and stuff. And then we've got 2 Fav weapons, Fav Codex and Fav Lance. I could use a billion Fav Lances, so I kind of like this weapon banner just for that. I don't know. I don't know about this one. Overall value, the Fav weapons are great. Fav Lance is extremely useful because just about every spear character in the game would really like a Fav Lance. The 2 HP weapons are okay. The Claymore is way better than the Bell as like an HP scaling Claymore, but the HP scaling Claymore characters aren't really that good. So a lot of times if you are going to run someone like Dory, even though you could give this to her, you'd much rather have like a Favonius Greatsword on her. So not necessarily the best, but to see a genie wielding a giant chainsaw would be kind of cool. And then for the Dockhand Sword, obviously it's great for Nilou. It's great for Layla. It's great for basically any... It's also good for Kuki, especially at R5, because you can get up to 240 EM with full stacks at R5 for Kuki. So it's a nice alternative to like the Iron Sting or to Kabu Shigure for her. So it's pretty decent there. It is a non-5-star HP percent sword, which is something that a lot of people have wanted as well. It is a gacha weapon though, and it's not going to appear in the standard banner, so that is one thing to kind of consider after this. Once it goes away, you're going to have to wait till a next weapon banner for it to come out. But I would never ever recommend wishing for one 4-star weapon in particular on a weapon banner. Only go for the weapon banner if you A, like both of the 5-star weapons and want both of them, and B, like at least 3 out of 5 of the 4-star weapons. So can I say that for myself? I like both Fav, I like both 5 stars, maybe the sword, so that's kind of on the fence for me. This is interesting. It could have been better, this bow could have been better. I mean, they have it for Fischl, kind of, I guess. If it was like a stringless, it would be a lot better. If it was something like an alley hunter, it would also be really good. So that would have made this weapon banner a little bit better. So this bow is kind of just pretty meh overall, but otherwise pretty decent. So overall, I think if you are especially if you are a newer player and you don't have a lot of support characters or a lot of like off-field damage dealers, these are good banners to wish for. Maybe if you do like these 5 stars and you were thinking about going for one of them but not quite sure, maybe use some of the free wishes we get, because we are getting about 20 free wishes. We're getting 1600 Primo Gems and 10 wishes over the period of patch 4.1, and maybe use 20 wishes. Maybe you get a copy of Xingqiu, maybe Fischl. And then if you're saving for Venti or for Risley, you can use more Primo Gems there. But don't quote-unquote build pity. That is a lie, and it can definitely mess you up. So if you're saving for a particular character in Phase 2 of patch 4.1, I would not use a bunch of wishes here. But if you're the type of person who just wants to have good characters and doesn't really care about the 5 stars in particular, you just want like a good roster, this is a good banner to wish on for sure. It's also good for a lot of vets who may want more constellations of Xingqiu. So it's just a very good banner overall, and we haven't had like a really amazing 4-star banner in a long time. But when 2 out of the 3 4 stars are some of the best in the game, and the third one is also a very nice utility character, even if they're not amazing, that is an absolute win, especially on top of like 2 very good 5-star on-field damage dealers as well. So this is definitely a W banner. This is this is like mid plus. It's like better than just a straight mid banner, but it's not amazing. It's okay.